You know, some stories don't just tell you a tale. They kind of rewire how you see the world. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most unsettling and influential works ever written. So get ready for a journey into the strange mind of Franz Kafka and the tragic life of Gregor Samsa.
The genius of Kafka was his ability to take something completely bizarre and just drop it into the most mundane, ordinary setting imaginable. His stories really dig into what happens when the logic of our world just falls apart, leaving people feeling lost and alienated in a universe that doesn't seem to make any sense.
And with that one sentence, seriously, one of the most famous opening lines in all of literature, we are thrown headfirst into the nightmare. There's no explanation, no warning, just a simple, horrifying fact. This is Gregor's new reality, period.
Now, to really get Metamorphosis, we have to look beyond just the story itself. Let's explore the man who wrote it and the philosophical lens he used to see the world.
So, Franz Kafka was a lawyer living in Prague, a job that you can totally see fueling his explorations of impossible systems and bureaucracy. He was relatively unknown in his lifetime, but his work has since become a cornerstone of 20th century literature, exploring themes of alienation that honestly feel more relevant today than ever.
This brings us to the core concept of the absurd. You know that feeling when you're searching for meaning, for a purpose, for some grand design, and the universe just gives you back cold, empty silence? That's it. Kafka is the absolute master of showing this conflict, with characters who keep trying to apply human logic to a world that has none.
Okay, so, with that in mind, let's get back to Gregor. He's lying in his bed, he's got this new armor-plated back, and all these tiny little legs wiggling around. How does a person even react to the impossible?
And this is where the profound absurdity just hits you like a ton of bricks. Look at the contrast here. Gregor has become a giant insect, and yet his main concerns are his job. He's worried about missing the train, his boss getting angry, the family's finances. His very human anxieties are still there, completely at odds with his monstrous new body.
He thinks to himself, what has happened to me? But crucially, he knows it wasn't a dream. His room, his very human room, is still there. The fabric samples for his job as a traveling salesman are sitting on the table. The reality of his life is crashing head-on with the unreality of his body. When his mother calls to him from the other side of the door, he tries to answer, but what comes out is not his voice. It's a horrible, animal-like chirping that just mangles the words. This is his first real moment of alienation, the point where he realizes he can't even communicate his own humanity anymore. So Gregor is locked in his room, but the outside world, with all its demands and deadlines, is knocking at the door. His boss has sent the chief clerk to find out why he missed the train, and the pressure is seriously building. The chief clerk is basically the voice of the system, impatient, accusing, and totally without compassion. He's lecturing Gregor through the door about his poor performance and hinting that he's being dishonest, all while being completely oblivious to the true horror of the situation. After a tremendous struggle with his new, clumsy body, Gregor finally manages to turn the key with his mouth and open the door. He wants to explain, to reassure everyone, but the moment that door swings wide open, the world stops. The reaction is immediate and universal, pure horror. The clerk gasps and backs away slowly. His mother, her hair still in curlers, just collapses onto the floor. And his father, who had been an invalid, is suddenly filled with this menacing rage, clenching his fist. In an instant, he's no longer their son and provider. He's just a thing. With the secret out, the family is forced to deal with this new, impossible reality. Gregor's room becomes his prison, and that initial shock starts to give way to a grim new routine.
Think about this. The very first interaction Gregor has with his family after the reveal is one of violence. His own father, hissing, drives him back with a cane. He's not treated like a son in crisis, but like a pest to be shooed away. Gregor gets stuck in the doorway, and his father just shoves him through, injuring him. His isolation is now physical, and it's brutally enforced. Only his sister, Gret, shows any initial compassion. She becomes his caretaker, but even she can't stand to look at him. She discovers he no longer likes fresh milk, his favorite drink, but instead prefers spoiled, rotten leftovers, and Gregor eats them with delight. His very nature is changing, pulling him further and further away from the man he was. Trapped in his room, Gregor begins to adapt. He finds a little bit of freedom in his new body, a joy in crawling on the walls and hanging from the ceiling. It's a strange, almost happy distraction from his lonely existence, a moment where he embraces his new physical form.
But this period of quiet adaptation is about to be completely shattered. The family decides to remove some furniture from Gregor's room to give him more space to crawl. This well-intentioned act leads to the most violent and heartbreaking confrontation in the story.
As his mother and sister remove his furniture, Gregor panics. He feels like they're erasing his human past. Desperate, he scrambles up the wall to protect his favorite picture, an etching of a woman in fur. When his mother sees the giant brown splotch on the wall, she faints.
This quote just perfectly captures the father's hardened perspective. When he comes home and sees the scene, he just assumes Gregor attacked his mother. There's no room for doubt, no attempt to understand. In his mind, Gregor is a monster and he must be dealt with harshly.
The father grabs apples from a fruit bowl and just starts throwing them at his son. This scene shows the complete breakdown of their relationship. This isn't discipline, it's an attempt at destruction. Gregor scrambles to get away, but his father bombards him relentlessly.
One apple misses, but another one hits him square in the back and gets lodged in his shell. The pain is unbelievable, and the wound is serious. This physical injury symbolizes the deep emotional wound inflicted by his own family. He is now broken, literally and figuratively. As Gregor lies there, paralyzed with pain, his mother runs in. She throws herself into the father's arms, pleading with him to stop, begging him to spare Gregor's life. It's the only defense he gets, a desperate plea in the middle of a brutal, absurd attack. And that leaves us with the story's central, chilling question. On the inside, Gregor never stopped being Gregor. He was still full of human worries, memories, and love for his family. But when faced with a monstrous exterior, how fragile are the bonds that we think define our humanity? How long does it take for the shell to matter more than the soul inside?